All right. Hello, everybody. Meteorologist Ansley Parker here, and we're nearing the time for our winter weather event across central Georgia. So we're going to break down the forecast in full detail today. We're going to be talking about impact, timing, location, what you can expect for tomorrow, and just generally breaking down the details of our weather impact alert with a little bit more time here. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it, starting with the weather impact alert. And I'm going to take you guys back full screen so that you can get a full picture of what I'm talking about here. We are talking about potential winter weather for Tuesday, all day Tuesday really, heading into the overnight hours and stretching into Wednesday morning. The impact, we're watching for the chance of snow across all of central Georgia. And of course, you know this already, this has been an ever-changing forecast with more and more details coming into the picture the closer we've gotten. Now we're just about a day away from when this is actually set to take place. So now a lot of more details are into focus. So let's take it piece by piece. We've been watching this polar air get ready to settle in over central Georgia, and now it's here. You can feel that this morning. It's the coldest air that we've seen so far this season, and we were in a cold weather advisory this morning due to how low our temperatures were and still are. It just expired at 11 a.m., but you can see across the board temperatures are just barely finding their way into the lower 30s. Vidalia at 36, but our northwestern counties still hanging on to the upper 20s. So really cold this morning, and this cold air mass is going to stick with us into tomorrow, so the temperatures are going to be right for winter weather when we do have moisture introduced. So let's start with this. I'm going to kind of go through the big picture here, and then we're going to time everything out with the latest models, and I'm going to give you the more intricate details of this forecast. But just to kind of go big picture with you here, we're talking again about Tuesday. Now, something that I really want to emphasize with this event on Tuesday. You're going to wake up on Tuesday morning, and I'll show you this on the models here in a few minutes, and that's not exactly the time frame we're talking about. Things will probably look a little bit cloudy. You may see at the very least a couple flurries outside, but that's the most we're talking about for what you'll see on Tuesday morning. The real event starts to come in Tuesday afternoon. So this is just important to note because you may be waking up Tuesday thinking, hey, I'm all good to go, I'm gonna go to work, or I'm gonna go out, and you might be trying to return from wherever you head out in the morning, and that's when this snowfall will start to take over in central Georgia, and that's when you'll start to have some problems. So just important to note the time frame. We're talking about Tuesday afternoon, all the way through the afternoon into the evening, and lingering into the overnight hours to kind of cause some issues for Wednesday morning, and I'll show you more details on that here in just a second. Now, right now, in terms of the specific amounts that we're talking about, snowfall totals, there still seems to be a lot of model disagreement with this. And I'm going to get into totals further here in just a minute. The big picture that I want you to take away from specific totals is that the impact is going to be the same regardless. The roads right now and the ground, they're all cold enough for whatever falls to stick to the ground. So you don't need to get hung up so much on the specific numbers because whatever falls is going to be sticking to the ground, so it's likely going to cause some hazardous road conditions, at least for Tuesday heading into kind of Wednesday morning. So we're going to talk a little bit more details on specific totals, but I just want you to kind of hang on to that main idea of totals don't necessarily matter so much in the terms of the impacts will still relatively be the same. And then that third bullet point there is we have a winter storm watch, which is the next graphic I'm about to show you. That is going to have an update to it probably here in the next couple of hours or so. And this is going to give us some more specific details again on totals and then on specific location, who's going to see more, etc. So that will likely either be an upgrade from a winter storm watch to an advisory or a warning, or it will stay the same and we'll kind of have more information about who's being put in the advisory and warning as opposed to us. So that will be the next change that we'll see, kind of the next update that we're waiting on from the National Weather Service at least. What we have right now is still this same winter storm watch. So it's outlined for all counties in central Georgia from 10 a.m. Tuesday to 7 a.m. Wednesday, just saying that this is the time frame that we need to be paying attention to because this is when our temperatures are cold enough and we're going to have moisture moving into our area that we could see some snowfall. So that's the watch that we're in right now. It just kind of means all the ingredients are there during that exact time frame to see winter weather. So let's go ahead and go into the models, and I'll slow this down here. For the rest of today, we're still talking about clear weather, and again, let me talk about this Tuesday morning. So Tuesday morning, you really might just see some clouds, again, at the most, maybe a flurry or two if one of these clouds ends up having some moisture in it that does try to fall to the ground, but otherwise, it's going to be mostly quiet on Tuesday morning. It's not until we start heading into the afternoon. A lot of models are starting to show agreement, on this timing. So kind of that 2, 3, 4 p.m. range, the late afternoon, that's when we start to kind of see this snowfall enter central Georgia. And you can see it takes its time getting through here. We're still dealing with some snowfall through the late evening into what looks to be the overnight hours here until finally in the overnight hours, likely early Wednesday morning, and by early Wednesday morning I mean that early, like 1 to 2 a.m., kind of what most people would still consider Tuesday overnight. And then Wednesday ahead is looking to be nice and clear. The thing about Wednesday, and I'll show you temperature values here in just a few minutes, with Wednesday, we need to still be paying a lot of attention because the temperatures will still be cold. They'll be below freezing Wednesday morning, and then as we head into Wednesday afternoon, we're going to stay near freezing. So we still could be looking at some potential impacts in terms of hazards on the road. But let's go ahead and look at another model. It's the same situation, but we're going to look at it on the HER model. What you just saw was the graph model. So that's why I kind of mentioned maybe seeing a couple flurries. This is really early Tuesday morning that the HER model tries to introduce maybe a couple flurries for our southern half here. Generally, if you see anything before the afternoon, it won't be super impactful. All models kind of agreeing that the main impacts come later in the afternoon. So what you're seeing here is kind of mixed precip as well. I will note that the National Weather Service has said it looks like we're going to see mostly snowfall. That's the guidance that we have at the moment. There could be a couple moments where you're seeing mixed precip as opposed to just straight snowfall, but you can see it kind of takes over to snowfall here later in the afternoon and kind of into the evening. So it does look like it's mainly going to be snowfall. Same kind of story into the late afternoon, early evening, and then taking its time into the overnight hours until the early morning hours Wednesday, and that's as far out as this model run will go here, that 4 a.m. hour. So early morning hours Wednesday, then we finally start to lose this wintry precip. So I'll even show you here on the long range models as well, just to kind of give you an idea of the model agreement that's coming together right now. Same kind of time frame, Tuesday afternoon, early evening, and pushing through into the overnight hours early Wednesday morning. That is the European model. We'll look at the NAM model as well. I'm gonna show you all the models here so you can kind of get a picture of everything that we're looking at as a team. NAM model, same kind of agreement. The only real difference here is that they think there may be less accumulation in our northwestern counties here, which I'll touch on in just a minute. I'm going to talk about location here in just a second. And then again, moving out Wednesday morning, and the very last model I'll show you, this is the last one, is the GFS model. Same story, late afternoon, early evening, seeing some snowfall into the overnight hours, and then finally moving out by early Wednesday morning. So at this point, it's very likely that we're going to see snowfall for Tuesday afternoon heading into the overnight hours. Again, I know there's still some questions about just how much, so let's talk about it for a second here. I mentioned this at the beginning a little bit, but the models that are predicting the snowfall totals are generally on a downward trend from the past couple of days. So originally, the National Weather Service was thinking about up to 2 inches was possible. Throughout the day today, they've kind of trimmed their guidance down to say it's looking like we may have a little bit less accumulation. They're saying kind of anywhere now between 0 or ½ an inch to about 2 inches. I do think what you can see on the models here, and I'll go back to our models really quickly. I do think where you can see those darker purple values as opposed to the light white values, I think generally there's a trend where heavier accumulation will be further down towards the south. And I say that as well because you can see this on the NAM model also. When it kind of tries to trim off our northwestern counties, I don't necessarily think that means they're going to see nothing, but I think it's putting a heavier concentration, at least on the southern counties. Not a crazy, crazy, crazy difference, but I definitely think there may be some slightly higher accumulation in our southern counties. But again, this is kind of a widespread event. I'm not necessarily talking about excluding any counties from seeing snowfall at all. You can see that on the graph model. It still looks like everybody's gonna see something for Tuesday. So anyways, back to our totals, just kind of giving you a picture there of what I meant. Regardless of the totals, this is really the message that I'm just trying to drive home here. The impacts are generally going to be the same. When we have temperatures that are cold enough for not only for snow to fall, but for the roads to hold on to it, we're just needing to be paying attention from that Tuesday afternoon time to really early Wednesday morning and potentially into Wednesday afternoon as well to road conditions. Now, hopefully, GDOT is doing a good job brining the highways, major roads, things like that, but particularly dangerous areas after winter weather events. We're talking about back roads, roads that don't have high population density, just generally areas that you would think maybe the GDOT trucks did not get out here and brine these specific areas. That's where you're going to be needing to pay special attention. The best thing that you can do for Tuesday heading into Wednesday is just be off the roads as much as you can. If you can work from home, that would be my recommendation. If you can stay home during the day, that would be my recommendation. Anything to just limit your time on the roads, regardless of if it's a small snowfall total or not, I think is just generally the safer option for Tuesday and Wednesday when we're talking about temperatures that are below freezing and likely seeing some snowfall. So that's just kind of my general big picture in terms of totals. We'll try, hopefully, what I was saying earlier about the winter storm watch being changed, that would kind of provide us some more details about what the National Weather Service is really expecting in terms of totals. So that would kind of give us a little bit more of a concrete idea. But again, this is just the most intricate little detail about forecasting snow, is trying to figure out what the totals are going to be like. So generally, I would just say to kind of give you your action plan, I would just say to plan to be off of the roads for Tuesday and really for Wednesday as well. And I'll show you the temperatures to kind of back that up also. So today going to be really, really cold, and we'll start Tuesday off. I think that this graph model may even be overshooting our low temperatures for Tuesday night. We'll see the 20s overnight Tuesday, and then starting the day off in the 20s and the 30s. And you can see by the afternoon, we're not climbing up very high. So definitely near or below freezing for Tuesday afternoon. And then the overnight hours, so kind of after our snow, excuse me, sorry about that. After our snowfall would have already fallen, so Wednesday early morning, the temperatures are well into the 20s. So this is going to support the chance for anything that has fallen to refreeze or to stay freezing on the ground, and that can definitely cause an issue on the roads. You can see getting even colder by the time we start the day Wednesday, low 20s, maybe even teens in a couple spots. And then the afternoon for Wednesday, once again, not super warm. So 36, 35 degrees, even though these are above freezing, it's definitely not enough to let all of the moisture on the ground melt, kind of let the earth heat up, let the roads heat up. So it definitely could play a role on hazardous conditions afterwards as well. That's why I'm kind of just generally lumping in Tuesday and Wednesday as well. If we look at the 7-day forecast, my hope here is that after Wednesday, you can see the overnight lows are still in the teens. So that definitely could still be a bit of an issue. But my hope is that as we kind of head towards the weekend at the very least, those afternoon highs getting back into the 40s, getting back into the 50s, that those will provide the melting that we need on the ground to kind of improve road conditions. But generally, and that's why our weather impact alert is for Tuesday into Wednesday morning, that time frame I think is probably not going to be the best for road travel. And important to mention as well, I've said this a couple times on the streams, but the temperatures from last night to this morning to all the way to Thursday, like you just saw on the 7-day forecast, are near or below freezing. So that's a really long time for your pipes to be near or below freezing, for outdoor pets and plants, things like that. It's just a really long time to be in this amount of cold. So it's still important to be paying attention to not only our chance for winter weather, but to be paying attention to the temperatures in general, just because this is a super prolonged amount of time to be in that level of cold. Again, the wind chill is really, really cold when we do have some winds. So continuing to take the precautions to protect your home as well. I do think the longer we have this kind of cold, the more your pipes are going to be vulnerable. So it's important to just not only pay attention for our chance for winter weather, but we are in South Georgia. We don't typically have prolonged time of seeing temperatures in the teens. So preparing you for seeing some winter weather, but also preparing you for some very, very cold temperatures. So that's our thinking here at the moment. And I will go back to big picture, just kind of reiterating everything that I went over. As you just saw on the model runs there, we're likely to see some snowfall for Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday morning. It's kind of an all of central Georgia thing, not necessarily confined to one area. In terms of specific amounts, we are still seeing a lot of disagreement in the model, so we're generally just saying, in terms of the amounts, just pay attention to the roads for Tuesday, for Wednesday, and then kind of reassessing on Wednesday what things are like and seeing if we need to pay attention to road conditions further out. I do think that there will be heavier totals further towards the south where you saw some of those darker colors, but we will just have to see as we, again, get closer and closer and closer to this. We've seen a lot of ups and downs from these models. Right now, what I just showed you is the best agreement that I've seen in a really long time, so that's kind of why I feel better about the forecast right now at the moment. But this third bullet point, the changes to the winter storm watch, that will give us a really, really, really good picture of maybe some better ideas on totals and maybe as well some better ideas about who's going to see heavier accumulation, etc. And I'm just seeing a message here from the National Weather Service in our chat as I'm on the stream, so I'm just quickly running my eyes over it so that I can make sure it's nothing that I need to mention while I have you all here. Okay, it does look like they're talking more about North Georgia, so I think for Central Georgia, this is generally the track that we're following. And to kind of give you an idea of why a watch to an advisory versus a watch to a warning, etc., would kind of give me a better picture of what they're talking about. Advisory would kind of mean that they're playing off of snowfall total, so we would know kind of better idea of what they're expecting total wise, and then also who would see heavier amounts. So that's kind of why I say that we're waiting on this, and hopefully this will come sometime this afternoon. The National Weather Service did say they were planning on assessing the winter storm watches and warnings and deciding who was going to be in and who was going to be out, and that we would have that information later today. So that is generally the latest with our weather impact alert, with our forecast for Tuesday, for Wednesday really, and that's kind of the details that we have at the moment. I'll put the weather impact alert behind me as well so that we can just keep getting an idea. Again, the things that I really just want to drive home is if you wake up Tuesday morning and you don't see anything outside your window, don't take that as an all clear to just kind of take to the roads and go somewhere where you might be needing to return in the late afternoon or in the early evening, because that's when you kind of might have some problems. That's what happened in 2014 in Atlanta with Snowmageddon. You know, we woke up, things were okay, and then the snow moved in the afternoon and the evening, and then people were stuck at the office. So just something to pay attention to at the very least, and then just generally paying attention to road conditions despite totals. Totals are going to come into the picture very, very last minute, and I think generally, regardless of the totals that we see, the impacts are generally going to be the same. So those are kind of the big takeaways from the forecast here at the moment. David Guerrero will be in tonight, and we will be working as a full-on team, as we always do, to kind of provide you the latest and continue the coverage of this event here on 13 WMAZ+. You can also find more information on our website and on our app. We're sending out the latest information on there as well. So I'll leave you with this weather impact graphic so that you can refer to it if necessary. But thank you so much for joining me today, and I wish you all a very, very safe and very restful start to your week and a Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day.